I am proud to welcome 4 remarkable women today to the ranks of some very prominent prior honorees, including Hillary Rodham Clinton, Estee Lauder, Caroline Kennedy, Susan Sarandon, Meryl Streep, Vera Wang, as you saw up on the movie there. And the dual role of mother and career woman is no easy task, as we know. There are unbelievable challenges, and it often means having to sacrifice to successfully accomplish one, let alone both, is a goddamn achievement. Let's just admit it, especially now with vaping. Is anyone else dealing with vaping? And I'm not talking about my children, I'm talking about myself, because that's the other thing. I love the fact you just go like this on the plane. That's all you have to do, apparently, I'm told. Anyway, our 2018 honorees exemplify what it means to be a mom and a leader, and we're thrilled to recognise them today. And our first outstanding mother honoree is Artemis Patrick. She is Sephora's highly regarded chief merchandising officer, and the reason why my credit card is always under arrest in itself. Leading with a passion for innovation and risk, Artemis heads a talented team of merchants and product development specialists dedicating to helping customers learn, play, and get inspired with beauty. And since joining Sephora in February 2006, Artemis has helped shape some of its breakthrough categories and product leadership initiatives to date, including indie fragrances, textured hair distortion and assortments, and establishing Sephora as the first North American prestige beauty retailer to offer K-beauty products and brands. However, she doesn't, and this is one of the most important reasons why we all love Artemis, she doesn't take credit for that. And when she's asked who her role model mom is, she says it's the collective mothers she works with every day, both within her team and her peers across Sephora. But she is an outstanding mom, and Tula, her daughter, knows that, don't you, Tula? She's nodding. For those of you who can't see the Tula, stand up so everybody just gets a chance to see you. So please join me in congratulating Artemis Patrick. Absolutely.
My daughter said, "Are you getting a trophy?" I was like, "I am. Look, honey." Okay, wow. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction, Joanna. When I first heard that I had been given this award, along with Jan Singer, Jessica Simpson, and Chelsea Clinton, I thought surely there must be another curly-haired Iranian woman named Artemis Patrick out there. But I was told no, in fact, there isn't, so you guys are stuck with me. First, of course, I have to thank Lori Dowley and the outstanding Mother's Day Committee for both this incredible honor and this amazing event. And of course, the 3 inspirational moms and leaders with whom I'm up here today. In order for me to really communicate what this award means to me, I have to share a little bit about my background. I was born in Iran to an unwed 18-year-old girl. Needless to say, in Iranian culture, that didn't go over too well. But my mother was never one to follow the rules. Who else living in Iran would name her daughter after a Greek goddess who was known as a huntress and the protector of all single women? In 1979, during the Iranian Revolution, my parents and I escaped to America, and after a couple of years of a not-so-easy adjustment, my mother went back to Iran to see her family, who she missed sorely, only to not be able to come back to the U.S. because of the Iranian hostage situation. Knowing that my father was often absent and ill-equipped to take care of me, she called for social services to take me in until she could get back to the U.S. But getting back proved not to be easy. And although she was devastated to be apart from her daughter, she knew that Iran, under its new government, was no place to raise a little girl who had gotten a taste of freedom. So at the age of 10, I moved in with foster parents. Now, my foster parents were a little bit older, never had kids of their own or even other foster kids, and were about as Americana and apple pie as a family could get. Her, a former home economics teacher, and him, a civil engineer for the city of San Francisco. One thing I left out was it took almost a year for me to get placed into a foster home because Iranians in the early 80s were not a popular bunch. Or as I would call myself, Persian, because if I said it real fast, it sounded like I was Parisian. But these amazing people took me in and never batted an eye when their neighbors were wondering where the heck this little girl that looked nothing like them suddenly moved in from. My mother did finally get out of Iran, escaping to Germany. By then, I was an angry teenager, not sure if there's any other kind, and I didn't want any contact with her. But every Sunday, my foster mom would make me sit down and write a letter to her. One day, my foster mom and I told her I had nothing to say to her. And she said, "Oh, Artie, for Pete's sake, just write about the weather then." So I did, an entire page. That must have been the most boring letter that my mother ever received, but I'm sure she didn't care. My mother wasn't healthy and without access to universal health care in the US, couldn't afford to leave Germany. And I was happy being an American. And over time, I finally did forgive her because I realized that the sacrifice that she made to not send for me when she was in Iran was the greatest gift that she could give me. Eventually, my mother and I became close again, and I visited her often until she passed away a few years ago. When I tell people my story, I always end it with how lucky I am for the twists and turns in my life, because I believe they have taught me 3 valuable lessons in being a working mom. And while I am not perfect and I make a lot of mistakes, I try to at least stay true to these 3 lessons. The first is to be flexible and to constantly reevaluate my values. It was through my foster mom's encouragement that I kept revisiting what I believed to be true about my mom and eventually connected with her, forgave her, and built a new mother-daughter relationship. The second is to be thankful. I am thankful for my foster parents, I am thankful for a supportive husband, and I am thankful for my story. Because being thankful allows me to see the ultimate good and possibility before I see failure. Yes, my mother made mistakes and sacrifices, but she got me to a country that was full of possibility. And finally, I've learned to try and have empathy, both as a leader and as a mom, because you never really know people's stories, and everyone has a story. So this award is for my mother, Shamsi, my foster mother, Rita, and for all the moms out there who make sacrifices every day to give their children a better life. And for my daughter, Tula Bell, who hopefully will always remember where she came from and be thankful for it. So happy Mother's Day to everyone who is a mom, a foster mom, an adopted mom, a stepmom, and dear girlfriends that we call aunties. This is your day to celebrate and to know how much you are loved. Thank you.
I just want you to know that I don't believe a word of that. I think it was all a ruse to make us spend more money at Sephora. I've heard many stories at this lunch over the years, but that I think is the most extraordinary. So Tula, appreciate your mum on Sunday. Get up early and make her breakfast in bed, okay? All right, now our next honoree is a world-renowned entertainer. She's a fashion mogul, and she's an entrepreneur. Jessica Simpson. And Jessica's released 8 hit-producing albums, and she's appeared on the original reality show Newlyweds, which made her a household name. And in 2005, she made her film debut as Daisy Duke in The Dukes of Hazzard and released a cover of Nancy Sinatra's These Boots Were Made for Walking for the movie's soundtrack. The song topped the Billboard Hot Digital Track charts and was certified platinum. As an entrepreneur with a keen eye for fashion, Jessica enjoys tremendous success as a designer and businesswoman with her Jessica Simpson collection, which now has the distinction of being a billion-dollar brand. And it was only launched in 2005, and it's grown to include over 34 product categories and is only continuing to expand with the launch of beauty this fall. An enthusiastic philanthropist, Jessica supports... there's deals being made at these tables. She's also an enthusiastic philanthropist, which is very good because I'm a rather reluctant philanthropist, but she supports the Casa Hogar Elim orphanage in Nuevo Laredo, Mexico, and has served as Operation Smiles International Youth Ambassador. She's been praised by fans and recognized by critics with 3 Teen Choice Awards and 2 MTV Video Music Awards, and has graced the covers of many high-profile magazines. And I will say, when I was at Marie Claire, we put Jessica on the cover several times. One time we put her on the cover with no makeup and no retouching, and I wanted it to be a statement about embracing one's natural sort of beauty. And the problem was that Jessica was so beautiful, no one believed us, and I got trolled on Twitter for making the whole thing up. And you turned up looking flawless on the day, and what can I say, you look even more flawless now. And the other thing was that, as some of you might know, I didn't grow up in New York City. And when I was actually at Marie Claire, I took American citizenship. And my staff, trying to figure out how they could create an all-American day for me, invited the most American of celebrities they could think of, Jessica Simpson. And Jessica came to the office bearing tons and huge fatty tubs, Mr. President, you would have loved them, of barbecue. And we had a spectacular barbecue feast. And then we topped it off with red, white, and blue cupcakes. So, Jessica, you may not remember it, but it was the first day for me of being an American. So thank you very much. And, of course, when it comes to her daughter Maxwell and her son Ace, Jessica Simpson is merely mum, a natural beauty. Please welcome Jessica Simpson.
I am so honored to be standing up here today alongside such extraordinary women. Artemis, Chelsea, and Jan, I admire you all, and Mr. President as well. Thank you. You have balanced your incredible career accomplishments with motherhood, and it's so inspirational to me. Thank you to the National Mother's Day Committee for the great work that you do and for actually thinking that I have it all together. It's very kind. And thank you to Save the Children for the impact that you are making on this world. Helping children in need and helping parents know that their children are being provided for is truly God's work, and I am humbled to be up here in your presence. Lastly, thank you to my children, Maxwell and Ace. Hey, Ace. They've never really seen me on stage yet, believe it or not. My husband, Eric. Max and Ace, you are my heart and everything that matters to me. You are 2 of the sweetest souls that I have ever had the pleasure of meeting. And Eric, you are my rock. You helped me be the best mom and woman I could possibly be. And thank you to my parents for setting me up with a foundation of wonderful values, which I still rely on today. I have been given many titles over the course of my adult life: singer, designer, actress, CEO, wearer of mom jeans. Yeah, that was fun. But there is a lot more of an important title to me. There's not more of an important title to me than mom. I came from a line of strong moms, both of my nanas, all of my aunts, and they all have unique Texas personalities, but they all share two things in common: their faith in God and their fierce loyalty to family and their children. Anyone who knows my mom knows not to cross me or my sister Ashley. It can be scary. My mom, Tina, who's right there, who I am lucky to have here with me today, is my confidant and my partner in the Jessica Simpson collection. She also taught me that anything is possible. We basically broke all of the rules when they said not to mix business with family, but we're speaking, so I guess so far so good. As far as I can remember, way back in the early 80s, my mom taught me to be a dreamer. She always was interested in fashion and was my personal stylist when I was growing up. We had very little money, so we had to be creative. As long as my mom wasn't teaching her aerobics class called Jump for Jesus at our local church, she would be mixing and matching my wardrobe with all sorts of unconventional accessories. Yes, Jump for Jesus. So I would never wear the same thing twice. It was very important to her. This made me feel confident on the outside, which helped me find shreds of confidence on the inside through those tough teen years. From this creativity came boundless inspiration. When we first started our business, my mom immediately took a front row seat. And the idea of building confidence in all women became our mantra. Despite not having any formal fashion or business education, my mom and I did understand one thing: the heart of a woman. Understanding others' hearts and knowing what another truly wants is the most important thing I have learned and applied in business and in raising my two children. Oh, Maxie, you're videoing me? The idea of inspiring confidence in women with the Jessica Simpson collection has become very important to me now that I'm a mom. The fact that I can play a little part in helping a new mom find and feel great on her dreaded first day back to work after maternity leave, or helping a protective mother's daughter feel beautiful when confronting that bully at school has driven me to build the brand. Most of our team at the Jessica Simpson collection are women, and many of them are moms, extraordinary moms. I see firsthand all of the moms on our team walking the tightrope between school pickups, assembly costumes, birthday parties, and deadlines at work, all while trying to find some personal time or just time with their husbands. But I think that balancing act in some way makes us all better at our jobs and at being mothers. Each day, we are building new muscles that make us more effective moms. In my own life, seeing the pride in my children's eyes when they see me work, or having Maxwell sit with me in a showroom and help me make design decisions is the most meaningful part of what I do. Like my mom inspiring me to follow my dreams, my hope is to one day see my kids following their own life passions. So I know, even in the hardest moments of balancing my life, that no matter how overwhelmed I feel, I am still setting a good example. I am very lucky to have a strong support system in my life, in my home life. I have a husband who is a true partner. He is not only the world's best dad, and trust me, he really is. I'm not just saying that. Not only the world's best dad, but he is also a husband who is entirely non-judgmental and supportive of my parenting choices and my career. Almost a little too supportive. He has lots of opinions. Eric and I also have an incredibly strong network of people who help us, who have become our family as well at home. I recognize that it is a privilege to be able to work and to pursue my creative passions and to set examples for my kids. And it is all possible because of the tight-knit team of incredible individuals at our home that I'm very grateful for. We love nannies. They're my best friends. Wow, I am honored. Yes, I already went there. Okay. When we first started, oh, was I over? Am I done? No. Wait. Sorry, guys. When I became a new mom, this is actually funny, I think. When I became a new mom, I was happy to be living my dream. My greatest joy was hugging and holding my babies, but the one thing that I never thought that I would struggle with, which I did, was singing lullabies. Every time I tried to sing one, I realized that I didn't know the words, and when I did know the words, I was scared by them. When the bough breaks, the cradle will fall, and down will come baby, cradle and all. I was like, why am I singing this? But after thinking about it, I decided to stick with what I knew and what I liked as a kid. As my husband Eric says, if I'm singing about America, Jesus, or Santa, I am happy. So I went back to my roots, and my kids got to hear my favorites: Amazing Grace, Carol of the Bells, and Jesus Loves Me. Who knows what effect it has had, but I had a laugh last week when the life came full circle, and I overheard Maxwell belting out the entire national anthem. You would be very, very impressed. She knows the lyrics better than I do, better than most. And she was belting it at the top of her lungs in the shower. That warmed my heart. Success is hard to judge, especially in regards to our children, but the purpose is hard to miss in moments like the other night when my 4-year-old son, Ace, politely tapped me on my shoulder and said in his sweet and loving voice, "Excuse me, Mom, you're beautiful." When I'm with my kids, I'm present, which also means I'm grateful at my best. I am blessed to be a mom. So today I stand up here and I act like I know what I'm doing, kind of. I share this very special honor with all of the strong moms in my life and with all moms who know the balancing act all too well, to the moms who fiercely love their children and who have the courage to dream in ways that make this world a better place. Thank you for everything you do, and happy Mother's Day.
Our next outstanding mother honoree is Jan Singer, the Chief Executive Officer, CEO of Victoria's Secret. Jan joined Victoria's Secret in 2006 from her previous role as CEO of Spanx Inc. So basically, she's been looking after us for the last 20 years. Thank you. You've been making us all look thinner for the last 20 years. And prior to Spanx, Jan was at Nike, where she held various senior leadership roles for more than 10 years, including Corporate Vice President of Global Apparel, Corporate Vice President of Global Footwear, and while at Nike, she managed multi-billion-dollar product engines that created industry-defining products for men's, women's, and kids' sport performance and sportswear products, serving elite and everyday athletes. And in addition to her acute business acumen, she's recognized and celebrated as a leader who invests and nurtures talent. She views her job as not simply to drive business results, but to develop talented teams. She's a mentor and she's a role model for hundreds and thousands of women. She's an active supporter of the Central Ohio community through her involvement with United Way, Pelotonia, and the James Cancer Hospital. And yet she also still makes time for herself, her husband, and her fantastic children. I'm going to ask you both to stand up, Sophie and another Maxwell. Jan, get up here, accept your award, and everybody join me in congratulating her.
Okay, so thank you, Joanna, thank you so much, and thank you to the National Mother's Day Committee as well as the Save the Children organization for all the wonderful work that you do. I'm humbled, really humbled and honored to be nominated by the committee, and I really thank those that supported me to get here. Congratulations to Arminis and Jessica, wonderful speeches, and to Chelsea, who I'm hearing having a conflict getting here, which makes me feel so much better because we all have those conflicts like every day at work. So thank you for being real. And Mr. President, it's an honor to have you here. So for those that know me, and my team is here, they know I love a good poll or vote. So we're going to do a little audience participation to kick this off. I love it. So with me, okay, raise your hand if you have ever, any time in your life as a mom, paused and said, wow, I am the outstanding mother of the year. Hands up. Wow, that's an excellent turnout. Okay, I absolutely have never had that moment. I too thought it was a mistake, and I wanted to call the committee and say, I think you have the wrong singer. This is not for me. And I'm gonna share with you a couple of my outstanding Mother of the Year moments that have happened recently to give you proof that I wasn't quite certain that this was me. Like, for instance, one of my favorites, as a leader, I had an opportunity to meet an incredible leader named Mr. Bernard Arnault, a one-time opportunity in your life that I obsessed. What was I going to say to this man? More importantly, what was I going to wear? What would my hair look like? I really rehearsed this meeting. I was ready to go. My bag was packed. I was heading out the front door, went to kiss Sophie and Max goodbye, and I stopped because I saw this. So instead of being at Charles de Gaulle on time for my meeting, I was at Lice to Know You. Can you imagine making that call? Sorry, I can't make it, right? Do you remember? Ooh. I made it out. They stayed there, get the caps on, and I headed to Paris. It was great. It was a Mother of the Year moment. The second one that was my favorite. So we're not alone, right? When I moved to Atlanta for the first time as a CEO to the South, to Atlanta, with my children, enrolled in their new school, do you remember? And we got a notice that it was Johnny Appleseed Day coming up, and I was going to prove it to the wonderful moms of Atlanta who have it all figured out, that I could be a CEO and a mom and get this right. So I worked really hard on Johnny Appleseed Day. I got 4 kinds of apples. I made costumes with the babysitter, remember, out of paper bags. We even had like the tinfoil hat. Remember, we made the pot for Johnny Appleseed. It was great, wasn't it? I took a picture of Sophie and Max. I was so proud. I had this nailed. I emailed it to the teacher and I said, we are so happy to be with you at your school. We are on top of it for Johnny Appleseed Day. I hope you have a wonderful time. Sophie and Max are on their way. I received a response that said, Dear Mrs. Singer, we are so pleased to have you here with us as well. However, bless your heart, it's not Johnny Appleseed Day today. So I stand here telling you these stories because I had a really tough time with many moments like this accepting Outstanding Mother of the Year. But what I'll tell you is that when I could get really quiet at 4 in the morning when we're really all awake and everybody's sleeping, I realized that it actually was perfect. And it was perfect because Outstanding Mother of the Year is exactly what it needs to be, and it just looks different than we might think. It's not better or worse, it's just different. It's not June Cleaver, it's not Superwoman, there is no perfect unicorn called Balance out there that we've found. It's just different. And if you can believe that different is okay, then really you can believe in anything. Because different brings us innovative thinking, and different brings us ideas and solutions, and different is how we change the world. Different like taking Ubers instead of cabs, or different like staying in people's homes instead of hotels, or different like the teenagers in Florida who can move a nation and change the world, or, right? And different like how a secretary can become a CEO, right? So, I embrace and I'm honored to have this opportunity and this moment. I accept it because I accept the fact that different is good and different is what we need right now. So my family is here today, and I'm going to close by saying a couple things directly to them, and I'm going to try to read this so I can stay on point. First, to my friends and family at work. I'm so honored and privileged and humbled every day to be with you. You're moms, you're fearless females, you're powerful thinkers, and I support you, and I thank you, and I'm honored. And yes, there is no unicorn called balance. We can keep trying to chase it, but it's not fair. We're just going to be agile and do our best. So thank you for being here. To my dad and my brothers and my sister-in-law, thank you for showing up. You've been with me on this crazy journey. See, Dad, it's okay. I turned out okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay, Dad. And thank you for being there for every moment in between. To my auntie, who's like a second mommy to me, thank you. I love you. To Sophie and Max, who you all just met, they're twins. They're not fighting right now, so that's good. That's good. I love you. Mommy loves you to the moon and back, right? 1 trillion times around the sun. I've loved you from the moment I felt you in this belly, and you'll never not feeling the love. And should you ever doubt my capability as a mom, I will always remind you of this moment, and I didn't know I'd have a statue, and point your attention directly to that award. To the man I call the GOAT, and I spell that G-H-O-A-T, greatest husband of all time, and Jessica, I'm married to one as well. The guy who's in the pool during vacation with every kid, who's patient enough to be tech support to our entire family and every senior citizen in West Palm Beach, who has served this country as a retired commander of the U.S. Coast Guard. We thank you. He's still so cute. Who stood through me through our brightest days and some of our darkest hours. Thank you for always showing Sophie, Max, and myself what it means to be a great leader, to be a great husband, to be a great father, and most importantly, to be a great son. I love you. Mom. Get your tissues. I'm here because of you, okay? I know today scares you because you think you won't remember this moment. And you may not. But here's what I know. Here's what's what. I will remember everything forever, for both of us. Like how you worked for 40 years as an intensive care nurse and an emergency room nurse at the same hospital in Brockton, Massachusetts. Like how you served on every community you could possibly serve on and every board to drive change and to raise your voice for those that couldn't. You taught me to do that. And how you have maintained friends from as far back as your childhood in elementary school, and you still have time to make new friends today. I saw you making friends with Mr. President today. Okay, thank you, Mr. President. You and I have been together for over half a century. You brought me life, you celebrate my life, and at times, you literally saved my life. Not only will I remember, but our family will remember, and now everybody here will remember too. I love you. I'm grateful you are my outstanding mother forever, and I really want to wish you a happy Mother's Day. I love you. I know. I'm not going to get an Oscar, so this is it. This is it. Okay, to everybody in the room, to the moms, happy Mother's Day. To the moms, the stepmoms, the foster moms, every other mama, and the dads who support the moms, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
I realize that the thing that actually our outstanding mother nominees, settle down. I realised that the thing that our outstanding nominees have in common this year, which actually is unusual, is that they all have children who are, I think, under 12. All I can say is I can't wait for you to get into the teenage years. This is what happened to me this week. I called my older son, who, thank God, we managed to squeeze into college. Here's how the conversation went. I call him. No one else ever calls him. I called him, and he goes, hello? As if he swallowed the telephone. He can't just say hello. He's like, hello? And I said, hi, Thomas, it's Mum. And he went, who? That's how it goes. Let's come back in 10 years and see if you're all outstanding mothers then. Anyway, last but not least is our final honoree, Chelsea Clinton, who is stuck in Omaha, unfortunately. But she tried very hard to get here. She was due on a plane last night, didn't make it out because of the crazy weather, and couldn't get out this morning on the only plane out of Omaha, which is 6 a.m. Anyway, we're thrilled to have her dad here, but let me remind you why she's getting the award, because she's an astonishingly hard worker and has given back an enormous amount to our country. And as vice chair of the Clinton Foundation, Chelsea works alongside its leadership team and partners to help create greater opportunities for people to build better futures for themselves, their families, and their communities. She's a tireless advocate for expanding access to early childhood education, improving the health and well-being of Americans across the country, providing the next generation of young leaders with the resources they need to turn their ideas into action, and ensuring the empowerment of girls and women is a cross-cutting priority across all of the Foundation's programs and initiatives. In addition to the Foundation, Chelsea serves on the board of its affiliated Clinton Health Access Initiative, which works to expand access to life-saving HIV and AIDS medications and services in the developing world, as well as on the board of the Alliance for a Healthier Generation, a partnership between the Clinton Foundation and the American Heart Association, which works to empower kids to develop lifelong healthy habits around food and physical activity. And if that wasn't enough, she also currently teaches at Columbia University's Mailman School of Public Health and serves on the boards of the School of the American Ballet, the Africa Center, IAC, Expedia, Clover Health, and the Weill Cornell Medical College. She's also the co-chair of the advisory board of the Money Institute at NYU. Her leadership in education and philanthropy is both inspiring and admirable, and traits that she is sure she will pass on to her children, Charlotte and Aidan. And in her spare time, she's also a best-selling author, critically acclaimed for her kids' books, She Persisted, 13 American Women Who Changed the World, and the companion, She Persisted Around the World. She's also the author of It's Your World, Get Informed, Get Inspired, and Get Going. And with Devi Sridhar, she wrote Governing Global Health, Who Runs the World and Why. As you know, her flight was cancelled, but we think her dad needs no introduction, and he will be accepting the award on her behalf. Mr. President.
Whoa. Thank you. Thank you. You know, I heard Joanna up here cracking jokes, making fun of being a mother, saying things we all knew were true, and I was just aghast. It reminded me that it really is not our language, it's hers. This English language she was born to. I had to acquire it, having grown up in Arkansas. I want to apologize for being here because Chelsea called me last night at 11:30, and she said, Dad, and I was so nervous when I saw it was her, and then the minute I heard her say Dad, I knew it wasn't bad. You know, it's the deal with your kids, right? This is odd. It could be bad. First word, thank God. And she told me what happened. And then she said, but I do have a flight out at 6, but they say it may be canceled too. So could you pretty please bag your day off and go to New York? And 4 years ago, when the Father's Day Committee honored me, she spoke. And I wanted to do it. And I now owe her big time, because I got to hear 3 astonishing stories. And thank you, Artemis. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Jan. It was wonderful. Hillary would have done it, but she's on a plane on her way back from Australia. So you're basically stuck with the third string here. And that's okay. Here's what I'd like you to know about my child. In some ways, she had a remarkably privileged upbringing, though we weren't wealthy by conventional standards till I got out of the White House. I had the lowest net worth of any president elected since World War II, but we had a good life, you know. And I was governor for 12 years, and it was interesting, but it was always tough. My little girl started reading the newspaper at 6 years old when I was in a very hot re-election campaign, and she read things that people were saying about her father. And so I talked to Hillary, and at breakfast every morning in that election year, 1986, we turned it into a political debate. 3 people were running, me, 2 other guys. They were saying I was the worst thing that happened since, you know, the volcano erupted in Italy. So we taught Chelsea about politics. We taught her to care about issues, put people first, and take criticism seriously but not personally. And she debated with us. Some days she would be me, some days she would be one of our opponents. And we tried as hard as we could to protect her from the slings and arrows and meanness of what has otherwise been a particularly wonderful life. She grew up to be somebody who was ferociously smart, with a heart bigger than this room, but could be hard-headed and disciplined, and is unflappably calm in the face of chaos. Much better than me. Totally calm. The night she was born was the greatest night of my life. Being president was the second best job I ever had. And watching her grow up and become both self-possessed and other-directed has meant a great deal to me. I love my son-in-law. That's a good deal, by the way. And she is a magnificent mother. Both she and Mark work. They both have to travel all the time. They try to swap off, so one of them's always home with Charlotte and Aiden. And because her grandparents live close by, including Mark's mother, we're just all the time showing up. And one of the things I'm really grateful to my daughter is that she has made her parents feel welcome in their home. That's a spooky deal, you know. I always call and ask. I don't just show up. And she, my son-in-law, my grandson, knew his numbers well before he was 2 years old. His dad picked a number out of a box when he was 19 months old and said, Aiden, what's this number? He said 71. So now I complimented him, and he likes getting compliments. So when I see him, instead of saying, hello, Pop, he says, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Count through that. My granddaughter says, just like her mother and her grandmother and her great-grandmother, she said, "Where have you been? I haven't seen you in a while." Chelsea would never say any of this, but I do want to say this. Once when she was in middle school, she wanted to get involved in tutoring, and she was tutoring these lower-income kids in the public school she attended in Little Rock. And then I started running for president. And you may, 26 years ago, that was a reasonably rough campaign too. And there was a lot of controversy. And every time I was attacked for something, people in her school would rag her about it. Whatever anybody said, it automatically became gospel truth, and they would throw it at her. And one day this gang of boys got together and just was ragging on her terribly. And the largest guy in the school, who was from a poor African-American neighborhood, walked up to this gang of 4 other people. And he said, "I don't know about any of this, but when I couldn't read, Chelsea tutored me. And if I were you, I wouldn't talk about this anymore." So Chelsea came home dancing on air, because she saw someone and saw something in them that other people didn't. One night she called me when I was president, late at night. She always called me late at night, and I said, "It's pretty late here." She was at Stanford, and it was 3 hours early. She said, "You're up, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "I have good news and bad news." She will kill me for telling this story. I said, "What's the good news?" She said, "Stanford invited me to apply for a Rhodes Scholarship. And the way it works, the colleges nominate them, and then you can choose to compete where you grew up or where you're going to school." I said, "Chelsea, that's wonderful. What could be bad?" She said, "I'm not going to do it." I said, "You afraid you won't win?" She said, "Oh, no, I think I will." I said, "Are you afraid you'll win just because of who your parents are?" She said, "No." I said, "Well, then why aren't you going to do it?" She said, "Dad, I think I'll win because of the life I've had." She said, "That's wrong. That scholarship to go to somebody like you were when you were a 21-year-old boy in Arkansas and had hardly ever been out of state. It changed your life. It should go to someone whose life it would change, not to someone who wins because of the life they've already had." I said, "Well, don't you want to go to school there?" She said, "Yeah. Will you be able to afford to send me?" I swear, this is the whole conversation. I said, "Yeah, by then I will." She said, "Then let somebody whose life it will change have it." And that's the way she raised her children. She spends a lot of time at the foundation, as you just heard, on early childhood education, because so much of the brain is developed, but also so much of self-image is developed in those early years. And we do have this wonderful program called Too Small to Fail. We've given away almost 1 million books now to reading sites places you wouldn't imagine. Cohen-operated laundries. You know how many poor parents have to go to the laundry and they're just sitting there with their little kids, and so now they can read. And the dozens of new parks that have been built around America. I went to one in Baltimore the other day, and I met this astonishing woman. I can still barely talk about a mom who needs a good Mother's Day. She got married late. She and her husband had their first child when she was 36, and he was 40. When she was 39 and he was 43, he died in his sleep one night. And she was left alone, a single mom. without a lot of education, no way to make very much money. But she determined that their child was going to be raised the way she and her husband had promised each other they would raise their child. And she said one of the things is she's going to have what she needs. She's this delightful, luminous 4-year-old child. And education. I said, you read to her a lot? She said 10 books a day. Every single day. Never any less than 10. I think my husband would be proud of what we had done. And I couldn't breathe. We're just one more time. This happens to you thousands of times. That's one thing I'm proud of my daughter. She knows she's going to take care of her daughter and her son and to empower them to treat others with respect as well as make the most of their own lives. But she wants to spend a lot of her life giving those chances to other people. Her grandmother would be proud of her. Her mother is luminously proud of her. Her father can hardly talk about her without crying. I once told her, I said, you know, Chelsea, when we were in high school, you thought you knew more than your mother and I did about everything. Alas, it is finally true. Thank you very much for doing it.